By assimilating other beings into our collective, we are bringing them closer to perfection.
Somehow, I question your motives.
In this video, I'm going to look at all of the civics available to Gestalt consciousness empires, that is, hive minds and machine intelligence empires. I've recently looked at the civics available to normie bio empires, not including megacorps, but with this video I'm pretty much rounding off a complete overview of the civics for 3.6. This is going to be a relatively long video though, so sit down, strap yourselves in, and make sure you have a beverage or snack available. But before we go any further, and while you are presumably grabbing some snacks and drinks, I'd like to take some time to talk about today's sponsor, Clash Royale, and say a big thank you to Supercell for sponsoring this video. Clash Royale is a free-to-play, real-time multiplayer mobile game that I have personally been enjoying for quite a bit of time now. You'll collect a variety of different troops, spells, and defenses, and then use them on the Clash Royale battlefield. The objective within 2 minutes, or possibly sudden death if you and your opponent are alive after that 2-minute mark, is to destroy your enemy's towers guarding their king and lower hanger-on royalty types. Smote your enemy on the battlefield to win trophies, crowns, and glory in the arena. So if you find yourself with a few spare minutes and are bored out of your hive mind brain, then follow the link down below in the description and enjoy Clash Royale for free. As ever, we're going to start all the way at the bottom in the F tier and work our way up to the S tier. Now I do want to point something out, and that is the fact that for Gestalt consciousness empires, there are pretty much no civics that will actually harm your civilization, your Gestalt consciousness. However, there are, as ever, civics that are really not worth taking at all, so let's start with those. First up, we have Divided Attention. This gives you minus 50% empire size from planets. So basically with empire size, what you need to remember is the bigger the number that you have, the more penalties you will get for your civilization. We want to keep that as small as possible, so on the surface, this might seem really great. However, empire size from planet is going to only be the second largest, sometimes the third largest empire size modifier in your empire. Most of the time, the main contributing factor to that number is going to be pops. Now this will get better the longer the game goes on, but overall you will see pretty much a minimal impact from it. Yes, you could really go hard on this and pair it with an Ascension perk, and then maybe you'll get somewhere in the region of a 5 to 10% bonus for research speed and also tradition cost later on, but it is almost never worth it. Pooled knowledge is the hive mind equivalent of meritocracy. Unlike meritocracy, it's absolute dog poo. This is going to give you +1 leader level cap, plus 10% leader experience gain, and +1 encryption. What it will not do is increase your complex drone output in any way, shape, or form, which is what you really would like it to be doing. Of course, I have gone over this time and again, getting leader level cap and small increases to leader experience gain from a civic is really not worth it, and you'll almost never actually get a measurable bonus from this. There is one small edge case I really do need to mention for pooled knowledge, and that is if you are going for a progenitor hive build where you're trying to get max level leaders, then it could be worthwhile, though even then I don't think that build is as powerful as other hive builds, but it could possibly in that case be in B tier, maybe A tier, because you really do want to pick it if you're getting the passive leader XP bonuses from being a progenitor hive. Elevational Contemplations is another civic that we can draw a comparison to in regular biological empires. However, unlike regular biological empires, we don't have all of that spiritualism going on, and we won't be forming spiritualist federations most of the time. So it's very difficult to stack the effects of this civic. What you're going to be getting is plus 25% planetary ascension effects, minus 10% planetary ascension cost, and minus 25% tradition cost from empire size. That reduction in tradition cost will scale upwards as the game goes on, making it slightly easier to get traditions, but overall it's still not a very useful civic. Now we're into the machine intelligence civics in the F tier. First up we have factory overclocking. This gives you +1 leader level cap and plus 10% leader experience gain. It doesn't even, like the hive mind version, give you any encryption. Yes, you'll be unsurprised to hear that it's pretty dog poo. Zero waste protocols is almost so bad that I didn't cover it. It is a very boring civic that has pretty much no impact on your empire ever. Yes, it's not directly harmful, but it just does nothing. You get minus 10% robot upkeep. That's it. A small energy upkeep reduction for your robot population. Wow. I got all the way up to the A tier before I noticed I had to come back and talk about this absolutely useless civic. I really wish the devs would change it to make it better or more interesting or just something. Organic reprocessing allows you to replace fabricator drones with catalytic drone jobs. These will mean you need food in order to make alloys. Now, exploits aside, because you can't really use them anymore, this is really not worth it. As a machine empire, you'll almost never be making food. Over time, actually having catalytic drones becomes less efficient as you upgrade your alloy building and you upgrade your orbital ring. And then finally, you really don't want to be making excess food. So you could end up mismanaging and misbalancing your economy and end up with all of this extra food you simply can't do anything with. On the other hand, if you're producing alloys in the traditional way, you could end up with a glut of minerals and use them for things like, oh, I don't know, as a rogue server to build extra Ecumenopolis worlds, really, really good, or just simply build lots and lots of extra buildings. Elevational hypothesis suffers from everything we saw in the hive mind civic, so I won't really go over it again, simply to say that, well, you'll get even less out of being in a spiritualist federation as a robot. If I could put this below the F tier and give it its own hell tier, I probably would. Now we're in the C tier. The civics here aren't that fantastic. They're really not very good at all. However, they all offer slightly more benefit, at least, than the things we've previously seen in the F tier. There is a clear difference here. The first civic we have here is something you might be surprised to see because of how much I go on about how bad army related civics are. Strength of Legions gives you plus 20% army damage, minus 20% army upkeep, and plus 100 army starting experience. The real bonus, and the reason this is not in the F tier, is that it also gives you plus 2 Admiral and General starting level, which is a relatively nice bonus to have. Subsumed Will gives you minus 20% Empire size from Pops, plus 25 Edict Fund, and removes all Unity costs for Pop resettlement. Now, this is slightly better than the previous civic we looked at that dealt with Empire size, because Pops is more important to that, but you're only getting a minus 20% reduction, so it is quite a bit worse. However, also waiving that Unity cost for Pop resettlement can be very useful, especially if you are a newer player that needs to move their Pops around all the time. But otherwise, yes, this civic still isn't great. That additional edict fund is almost never going to actually allow you to run a single edict after the first 10 to 20 years. Idyllic Bloom cannot be added or removed after the start of the game, and additionally you must be a plantoid or fungoid main species in order to take this. You will be able to construct the Gaia Cedar buildings, and as an overlord, construct the Gaia Cedar outpost holdings. You'll also start with the Gaia Cedar Phase 1 building on your capital planet. Now, this civic, as I mentioned, is locked in for the whole game, which is quite a bit of a bummer. However, there have been updates to it. You can now, later on when you have the required technology, put these Gaia Cedar buildings down on any planet, even a tomb world, and convert them into a Gaia world. Gaia worlds are good for hive minds, but they are not as good as hive worlds, which you'll probably want more, and that's why it's down here in the C tier. Catalytic reprocessing suffers from all of the issues that the Machine Empire version suffered from. However, as a hive mind, you will actually have more use for food in that you'll be able to build colony ships from them. If you're running certain other civics, you might already have some food upkeep for your fleet anyway, so this might be rather useful, or at least reasonable to specialize into if you're already specializing your economy into food production anyway. And finally, you're going to be needing food output to support your Pops empire-wide, so it's not like you will have no food production at all. However, all of that being said, it is still going to get less and less efficient as the game goes on, and it's still not that great. I wish that this could be something of a policy change rather than eating up an entire precious civic slot. The Memorialist Civic has been left in something of a weird place after the latest 3.6 update. You will be able to replace the Sensorium site with a Sanctuary of Repose and gain additional unity from Leviathan Parade opportunity situations. Because every empire can now gain the Sensorium site, the only real bonus is a maximum of plus 15 stability if you fully upgrade that Memorialist building. Now 15 stability sounds great, but that's not going to come until much later into the game, and you will need to fully upgrade this and employ all of those extra Chronicle drones to get access to it. Now we're into the C tier for the robots. So Delegated Functions is the very first civic I'm going to look at in this tier. It gives us minus 25% leader upkeep, plus 1 leader pool size, and plus 1 available envoys. The reason this isn't down in the F tier is that yes, machine empires, without the rogue servitor civic, definitely suffer from unity production issues. So reducing your leader upkeep will increase the total amount of unity your empire is outputting. Additionally, more envoys is a good thing if you want to get a leg up in the galactic community or interact with lots and lots of different vassals. Warbots is basically equivalent to Strength of Legions. You're going to get plus 20% army damage, minus 20% army upkeep, and the real good kicker here, which is plus 2 Admiral and General starting level. Now for a machine empire, that is really quite good because machines really do struggle with stacking additional fire rate bonuses, so getting plus 6% to your fire rate right out of the gate is quite nice. Memorialist for machines is completely identical to the same version for hive minds. There's nothing really to add, it's in the place it is for exactly the same reasons. Hyper Lubrication Basin is a new civic we got with the Stellaris Toxoids DLC back in September of 2022. This allows you to construct Hyper Lubrication Basin buildings. Those will then give you access to the Lubrication Terminal job. Now the reason this is so low is the negative effects of that job. It is quite nice to get plus 1% monthly pop assembly per industrial district on the planet, especially on your capital. On the flip side though, for each industrial district, you'll also get plus 1% pop amenities usage, which is absolutely crippling to machine empires. With just 2 of these jobs, and let's say, I don't know, you have a very large industrial world with 20 industrial districts, that's a whopping 40% additional pop amenities usage, which would be absolutely crippling for that planet from a pop efficiency perspective. Last in the C tier for machines is OTA updates. This is completely identical to a similar civic for hive minds. It gives you minus 20% empire size from pops, plus 25 edict fund, and removes unity cost for pop resettlement. It suffers from all of the same issues, but of course will get better over time. Now this is slightly better than the hive mind version because machine empires do suffer slightly more from empire size penalties than hive mind empires, which get a reduction, or normal empires. And if you're enjoying this video, please give up your petty individualism and become one with that like button. We're now in the B tier, we're pretty much in the middle of the pack. Everything below here, yes, you're probably not going to want to take it, possibly something as a third civic just to round out a build, or maybe for a roleplay reason. But from here upwards, there are very concrete reasons you'll want to take one of these civics. One Mind gives you plus 15% monthly unity, and your leaders are less likely to gain negative traits. Now, as a hive mind, you will sometimes have some unity production issues. You can't throw unity out as easily as a regular biological empire, so increasing your unity output can be rather helpful. But it is only a 15% bonus, and that's why we're not putting this higher than the B tier. Empath gives you +2 available envoys and plus 10% diplomatic weight. It will also increase your opinion with regular individualist, that is normie, bio-empires. It's nice to have the envoys, and if you're playing a diplomatic game, extra diplo weight is always appreciated. However, in single player, this is, I would say, slightly better than multiplayer because of that extra opinion bonus for AI empires. Over to the C tier for machines, and first up we have the Rockbreaker Civic. This one is a very standard civic. It simply gives +1 minerals from minor category jobs. That can be alright, quite nice, and definitely very worthwhile as a third civic if you're a rogue servitor and you're trying to save up lots and lots of minerals to build an accumulopolis world. But overall, it's probably, at least in my opinion, one of the weaker civics in the B tier. Unitary Cohesion gives you +15% monthly unity. Just like the previous civics we've seen that have a completely equivalent Hivemind version, it is, as ever, a little bit worse because it doesn't have one or two of those extra minor bonuses that they have thrown in there. I must admit it is quite odd we see this repetition across the board, but the Hivemind civics are always slightly better. I'm not saying that there are devs out there with preferences, but it seems like there might be some devs out there with preferences. Alright, so Unitary Cohesion is still good. Regular robots who aren't rogue servitors will have some Unity production issues, so getting this civic will make tradition completion slightly easier, and that's why it's all the way up here in the B tier. Maintenance Protocols gives you +1 unity from maintenance drone jobs. Now this one is going to get better and better as the game goes on, because early on you can actually offset your production methods and completely eliminate maintenance drones across your machine empires, and I would definitely recommend you do so. But as the game goes on, your population will increase, you will be able to use these special evaluator jobs less and less and less to produce all of the extra amenities you're going to need. There is a maximum cap per planet on those job types because it is tied to a unique building. So that will mean you will end up having to get maintenance drones in order to balance your stability issues on your planet. When you do that, you will be getting +1 unity from all of those maintenance drones, and as a machine who has issues with unity production, that is going to be very, very helpful. Now we're all the way up to the A tier. Things in this tier are definitely very, very good. You might include them straight away in your starting 2 civic choices, or they make excellent 3rd civic additions to your empire. Permutation pools for hive minds, as you might have expected, is downright better than the machine version. This gives you access to the exact same building, mutagenic permutation pool, or at least in essence it's the same building, but we get a slightly different job with slightly different job output. The Permutation Attendance Drone will grant plus 1.5% monthly organic pop assembly, which is straight up more pop assembly bonus than we got from the machine version by 50%. On the other hand, it only loses, in terms of the negatives, minus 0.75 habitability per industrial district. Now, with technology, with all sorts of things, we can completely offset that habitability issue and completely ignore it, meaning that we can laugh ludicrously as we have absolutely insane levels of pop assembly. Let's say we're combining this with the regular organic pop assembly. We also go out there and get the clone vat. We also have, we get the budding trait, meaning each of our pops will stack 0.2 monthly organic pop assembly per pop, which will then be multiplied by the additional bonuses from this lubrication basin. It is completely bonkers. But all of that being said, it only really gets going in the mid to late game. So I probably wouldn't recommend you start off with this civic, but respec into it as the game is ongoing. Terravore is a genocidal civic, meaning that you'll have basically no diplomatic interactions for the entire game. It also cannot be added or removed after the start of the game. It does give us an eye-watering number of bonuses. They include plus 25% ship hull points, plus 0.25% daily hull and armor regeneration, minus 50% starbase influence cost, plus 40% army damage, plus 20% biology research speed, a whopping minus 25% ship cost, and plus 33% naval capacity. There are some nasty downsides in that we cannot ever terraform our planets, meaning no fantastic hive worlds for us, but we can use the consume world decision to get rid of some of our worlds. The reason this is not in the S tier is, in my opinion, it encourages a playstyle that really is not optimum. We do not want to be getting rid of any planet in our empire. If we have a planet, we want to get as many pops on it as possible, and therefore, if we want as many pops as possible, we want as many planets growing as many pops as we can, and this really does not encourage that. Yes, all the bonuses are very powerful, but it also locks you into being a lithoid, which has some rather large downsides. Cordyceptic drones is allowing for some pretty ludicrous play with dragons out there in the galaxy, but to be honest, any organic Leviathan in general. It is the Necroid, the Reanimator Civic for hive minds. It grants plus 50% space fauna weapon damage and plus 50% space fauna weapon attack speed. Starting corvettes are replaced with space amoebas, and you can construct the Cordyceptic Reanimation Facility Starbase building, allowing you to get lots and lots of juicy organic fleets every unit time interval. You will be allowed to resurrect defeated space fauna and defeated organic guardians. Those are Leviathans, basically dragons. Now, the reason this is not in the S tier is that I know as of patch 3.7 there is a nerf coming in for the dragon build, and on top of that, it forces a massive restructuring to your economy. You're going to need a whole lot of food in order to keep your fleet flying and doing well. If you misbalance this, you could end up with a massive glut of additional food that you can't really do much with. And in the very late game, those organic weapons really do not scale well with the contemporary choices like Tier 3 Strikecraft, neutron launchers, kinetic artillery, and the fantastic missile options. We're now looking at the machine civics in the A tier. Constructobot gives you minus 50% build and district cost and plus 1 building slot. This can be paired really nicely with some of the other machine civics, and if you get the right machine leader and you get the right governor and you take prosperity, you can stack these building cost reductions to be really useful at the start of the game. You're looking at somewhere between 30 and 50% reduced building cost and district cost. That means your expansion is going to be really quite quick and much faster than other machine empires that haven't taken this civic. Introspective gives you plus 20% engineering research speed and plus 1 encryption. The encryption is really neither here nor there, but that engineering research speed boost is absolutely phenomenal. Engineering research is hands down the most important research in the entire game for any empire, but especially for machine empires. So starting off with a 20% boost in that category cannot be overstated in the raw boost it will give to your empire's power. And speaking of being introspective, I think now is time for the secret call out. If you're still listening, if you've made it all the way this far into the A tier, and I'm actually not sure what time we've got through here. I actually have no idea where we are now in the video. This has been a bit of a long one in the making, but if you've reached this far, please let me know down in the comments below. This is the secret call out. You may be surprised to see Determined Exterminator down here in the A tier. Now I will go into the reason for that. First off, this is a genocidal empire type that can't have any normal relations with any hive mind or biological empires of any type. Yes, it can have normal relations with machines and it can integrate machines, but it can do basically nothing with regular biologicals that you want to go out and conquer. You do get some pretty reasonable bonuses, plus 25% weapons damage, minus 30% starbase influence cost, minus 15% ship cost, and plus 33% naval capacity. But as one of the 3 locked-in civics that cannot be added or removed, and the other 2 here are going to be Driven Assimilator and Rogue Servitor, it really does not compare favorably to those 2. those are much better at scaling and much better at doing things with biological pops. This is it. We are at the very top of the tier list. This is the final tier to be revealed. Everything in this tier should be basically an auto include, though you may have some trouble picking which one is better in a specific situation, but they're all absolutely fantastic. Ascetic is a very boring civic, but it is universally useful to hive mind empires. It grants plus 5% habitability, which is nice, and then a whopping minus 15% pop amenities usage. When stacked with other pop amenity usage reductions, you're going to be seeing some absolutely fantastic pop efficiency as a hive mind empire. It is really good. Natural Neural Network has two main bonuses. The first is you get +1 research alternatives. Right at the start of the game, that is a very powerful bonus to have, meaning you can beeline for the technology you want and get a small advantage on your neighbors, which will accumulate. That's the way Stellaris works, and that will accumulate and accumulate until you are far ahead of them. Additionally, in the beginning of the game, when you unemploy some of your worker drones, you'll get +1 research and +1.5 society research from every unemployed drone, giving you a nice little buff to your research output. The usefulness of Natural Neural Network does scale off as the game goes on, and you should probably swap out of this civic in the mid to late game, definitely by the late game in fact, but at the start of the game it is really a good option to take. Subspace FAs in the current version 3.6 is amazingly good if you're building the right ship designs. It gives you plus 15% naval capacity and a whopping plus 20% sublight speed. When we combine that with lots of additional afterburners and other effects to increase our sublight speed, such as the naval policy, the war doctrine policy, we're going to be getting missile cruisers that can run so fast away from enemy ships, regular ships with close range weapons will never be able to touch our fantastic missile cruisers. It will be absolutely hilarious. This is, however, probably not a civic you want to start the game taking, but rather swap into this at year 20 or 30, or maybe when you get your third civic slot available. Devouring Swarm gives you all of the same bonuses as Terravore, however, you have absolutely no incentive to destroy your planets. In fact, when you clear blockers on your planets, if you clear the dangerous wildlife blocker, you'll also get plus 200 food. It is a much better version than the Lithoid version, and deserves its spot here in the S tier. Yes, you will have some issues with diplomacy, but you'll be doing so well militarily, hopefully, that you shouldn't have any issues conquering neighbors around you whatsoever. That additional daily hull and armor regen and additional ship hull points is really clutch. We're now in the robotic S tier. And just like the first civic we looked at for hive minds, this one is relatively boring but amazingly powerful for any Empire build. Rapid Replicators gives you plus 20% mechanical pop assembly speed. That's just hands down great. You want more pops means a bigger economy, more economy means more everything. So getting 20% additional pop assembly speed right out of the gate, which you can stack with another 15% from your pop traits, is amazing. Static Research Analysis is equivalent to the Hive Mind Civic. You get +1 research alternatives and now as an additional bonus, +1 code breaking. Although your drones will not be generating any additional science if you have them unemployed. The reasons for taking this one are identical for taking the Hive Mind version, so I won't labour the point. Now we get to Driven Assimilator. Unlike the rogue defense system, the Determined Exterminator, you are not genocidal, so you can in theory engage in regular diplomacy with most organics. Most organics are not going to like you, so really I wouldn't even bother with that. However, you will, like all of the genocidal civics I've covered today, get access to a total war goal, which is really good. You will not be required to spend any influence on making claims. You can just go out and conquer the universe. You will, with Driven Assimilator, get an additional species at the start of the game, a regular biological species with the cybernetic trait, and you'll get 10 of these cyborg pops. This means you'll have bio pop growth throughout the game, yes at a lower level, but it's still nice to have all of that additional growth. On top of that, whenever you conquer an empire, you will be able to assimilate them and add them to your collective, meaning that you can conquer pretty much any empire in the game and boost your economy through conquest. It is very, very powerful indeed. However, when we compare it to this next civic, it looks like absolute chump change. Rogue Servitor is the best robotic civic in the game. I actually think it deserves its own tier, a double S tier or a triple S tier or just something way up into the stratosphere. Yes, you can't add it or remove it after the start of the game, but what does it do for you? Well, you'll start with 5 bio trophy pops in addition to your initial pops. This may seem like a slight disadvantage, but you will find that bio pops kept as bio trophies are the best way for any robotic empire to generate unity in the game. Additionally, you'll be able to construct these organic sanctuary buildings, which will grant the bio trophy jobs. Bio trophy jobs not only give you unity, but they also increase your complex drone output, meaning you're boosting your research output and your alloy output with just having these biopops on your planet. You also get access to Ecumenopolis worlds, unlike the rest of the regular machine empires, and if you stack bio trophies on those Ecumenopolis worlds, you can get absolutely insane levels of alloy output from metallurgists. We're looking at plus 100, plus 150, plus 200% additional alloy output. And I haven't even gotten to the best part yet. The best part is that these bio trophies have happiness, and that happiness contributes to the average happiness of the pops on your planets, meaning you will get massive stability bonuses from being at around 90% happiness. It is absolutely completely bonkers. Yes, you can't attack other biological empires and absorb them into your own empire at the same rate as a driven assimilator. Absolutely. But in the mid to late game, your scaling is unmatched by any empire type in the game, be they hive mind, be they machine, be they regular biological. Rogue Servitor Ecumenopolis worlds represent the best alloy output potential for any planet in the known galaxy. It is simply absolutely insane. Yes, Rogue Servitor, it's probably the best civic in Stellaris right now. That wraps it up for all the Gestalt Consciousness civics. If you'd like to know my opinions on all of the normie bio civics, then click the video on screen now.